29th October was the cyclone, so we were coming close to the financial year. So government was also thinking, if you need to continue with certain process, maybe you need little flexible in terms of carrying forward your work, in terms of its continuity and also with the same set of people. So then government took a decision to create an agency called OSDMA, Odisha State Disaster Mitigation Authority. And the prime objective was to collect, work together and create public institutions. And as you rightly know, the role of leadership is not just to create followers, rather the role of leadership is to create leaders. And OSDMA played that kind of role in terms of at the state level. Definitely they were the leaders, but they were also creating leaders at the district as well as sub-district level. So that was creating a kind of positive environment to bring all agencies together and work together for a common goal. And during that period, the initial days of the governance of OSDMA played a very important role in creating that democratic space.
That was the time when I told you the state finances were in a difficult shape. So development expenditures and program expenditures were not getting real priority vis-a-vis the day-to-day administration expenditures like salary and other things. So any support, any lending agency or any supporting agency would like to see that the money goes straight for implementation of any program rather than going to the state government kitty and getting diverted for other things. Though state government promised that no, that will not be, every state government for that matter promises that will use it for the program or for which this money comes. But sometimes it happens that money, because money is money, once it comes to the state kitty, it gets spent. So keeping a control on that is a little difficult. So World Bank also suggested that there should be some mechanism by which the money should directly flow to the people who will spend it on different programs and development expenditures. The road department, the works department would require money for road reconstruction. They would want that money should directly go to the person who is spending it. Sometimes the state budget, it doesn't reach the department in time. So we were actually thinking of how to ensure this. So this kind of an authority, this was an autonomous body. If the money comes to that, they can give it to the concerned department or concerned executive agency directly rather than that money getting held up anywhere. So that is how an independent structure or autonomous body structure was thought of. And though that time it was, that time also it was thought that it should be a statutory authority in the sense there should be a state act or a central act through which this body would be constituted. But to immediately start with, we registered a society under the Society Registration Act. And we also did it very promptly. I remember within a month of, I think 29th November or something, we got this agency constituted, Odisha State Disaster Management Authority constituted. Maybe in November or December itself, I was appointed as managing director of the authority. And basically, I was asked to scout for officers for this thing. Though it is one IFS, Indian Forest Service officer, Mr. Siddhant Das, he was taken as the executive director of the organization. One was that normally in a state, this thing, governments do not, they really, sometimes it is difficult to commit an IAS officer for a long tenure, a comparatively long tenure for a particular post. So Siddhant came from the Forest Department, Indian Forest Service officer. He continued there for quite a long time, maybe I think he stayed there for 3 years or something or a little longer. He provided that continuity. During that period, the managing directors may have changed, but he provided the continuity. though the managing directors provided the leadership, the executive director and others they carried on the work. He was the executive director. Then we took some engineers from the irrigation department, work department, IT department. We took some engineers, then some general administration officers from the Odisha Administrative Service.
We requested all departments to have a nodal officer in their departments, in each department, to interact with us, to attend our meetings, to share in the learning process. So this was one. Then secondly, the vision I had was to create disaster management professionals, higher level disaster management professionals in the state, by rotating people, bringing them into OSDMA for some time and then again sending them back to different departments. So this is another aspect. I don't know to what extent it materialized subsequently. I also wanted that there should be a disaster management institute, in course of time. What I always wanted, even in the government department, was a less hierarchical organization. Even in the department, I was not very comfortable with that hierarchy. So the more the hierarchy, the more the levels, the greater is the delay. So the flatter the organization is, the better. But the government doesn't have that kind of a culture. So the files, for example, in another department, I got one additional secretary, and I wanted the additional secretary to directly bring the files to me, but it didn't happen. He came through the special secretary. I said, no, you are not supposed to come through the special secretary, you come directly to me, but it was very difficult to, inject these new cultures, new ways of working. But at OSDMA things were easier because people are just getting the file and taking my approval. I was there all the time.
OSDMA is working as the Secretariat of Odisha Disaster Management Authority after the Act. Similarly, as per the Act, Odisha is also having 9 persons authorities there, advisory committee. Chief Minister is the chairperson of the authority, and ready-madely this authority got OSDMA as a secretariat to function. Maybe in other state you won't find that type of secretariat who will work for the state authority, but in Odisha we have a place where the authority can work independently.
Disaster affects rich, poor, illiterate, literate, any religious community equally. So it was our trump card that there was no community specifically giving us problem in communication. But the biggest challenge we faced, that convincing a vulnerable group that they are vulnerable. Because very interestingly, the people who are vulnerable to a particular disaster, they have been living with that disaster for some generations. So they sometimes, they very often breed that contempt. Familiarity breeds contempt. In that principle, they develop that. And as a result, they sometimes fail to perceive the imminent danger. Exactly that happened in 1999 super cyclone. People have been living with cyclones, tropical cyclones from time immemorial. So 1999 super cyclone was also a tropical cyclone. Warning was given to the people, but they did not take it as seriously as it was expected. So the entire preparedness that was available with the people and the government was grossly inadequate. So people died. System failed, and since there was inadequate preparedness, the system took a long time to bounce back. So that was the learning. So biggest challenge is to convince a vulnerable man or person that he is vulnerable and he should be prepared. And we overcame that through a conscious effort of engaging with the people at the grassroots level. Actually, OSDMA has been collaborating with different educational institutions for different purposes. For capacity building, for taking up projects, for giving us status report or survey reports.
So OSDMA has collaborated with IITs, with Indian Institute of Public Health, National Disaster Management Authority, National Institute of Disaster Management, then research institutions of Government of India, National Building Research Institute, and many other institutions. I can name quite a few more. And each engagement was for a particular purpose.